Hi guys, it's Debbie, and today I would like to speak about some films which have been incredibly successful but which I personally consider overrated. This doesn't necessarily mean that they are bad films. As you'll see, I actually enjoyed watching some of them. It just means that personally I would not have praised them as much as others have. I'm not going to just stand here and say I hate Avatar because. I mean, even Donnie Darko, which is one of my favourite films of all time, can often be seen being incredibly overrated. The two concepts most of the time are not related. The first film I would like to speak about is Get Out. Now I know that by saying this I have triggered half of the world's movie watching population into hating me, but I personally think that this film is way too hyped up. Get Out is the story of a young man which is invited to spend a few days at his girlfriend's parents' house. At first he is rather nervous because he fears that they will discriminate him, but he eventually agrees to visit. But upon arriving, things take a much sinister twist and he discovers a much darker reality. Since its release, Get Out has been hyped up as one of the best horror films ever. It only has 2 negative comments on Rotten Tomatoes, one of which still slightly praises it. The first time I saw the trailer, I was immediately fascinated by it. It looks so creepy and dark and twisted, and it was produced by the same guys that gave us Insidious, which was a big plus for me. In general, it looked exactly like the kind of film I enjoy watching. In the end, the film wasn't terrible. It was well put together, it had its interesting moments, and director Jordan Peele did an amazing job as this is his first film ever. But in my personal opinion, this movie had nothing more than a trailer. The 4 or 5 jump scares and creepy moments we saw in the trailer were basically the only ones included in the plot. In the trailer, we're told that Rose's mother can hypnotize people. We see her actually hypnotizing Chris. We're told black men have been missing in the area. We immediately knew there was something fishy going on with Rose's family. We see the protagonist being assaulted and strapped to a chair. We already know how the story is going to proceed from beginning to end. The only missing clue is why it happens, what exactly is going on in that area. I don't mind Get Out, I don't think it is a terrible film. I was just expecting so much more and I don't understand where all the excitement is coming from. In my opinion, instead of watching Get Out, you could get a bigger thrill from another nerve-wracking horror film, Don't Breathe, which was released just a couple of months earlier, but which unfortunately was completely overlooked by audiences. Don't Breathe is an example of excellent horror cinema, already starting from the trailer, which didn't reveal too much, but which fed us just enough to keep us curious. I know Get Out gained a lot of its success because of the fact that it was released during a period of time which was extremely infamous for multiple episodes of violence towards black people. But this attention doesn't automatically make it objectively a great movie. Cinema always depends on external factors, and it can be representative of a particular moment in time or can depict a certain aspect of society which tends to be overlooked. As a matter of fact, Jordan Peele said that this film is from a perspective, his perspective, which he never saw portrayed in movies. And I don't criticize Get Out for any of this. I just think that within its existence as a film, it's not that great. And I don't agree with its first place position in many best movie lists. The next film I'd like to speak about is Deadpool. And with this, the other half of the movie watching population hates me. Deadpool is the story of what we could describe as an anti-hero. The protagonist, Wade Wilson, undergoes a medical treatment which gives him mutant abilities, but which also unfortunately leaves him scarred and disfigured. He decides to use these new powers he gained to hunt down the culprits of his situation and of all the consequences of it. If you have been watching my videos for quite a while, you'll know that I never fully grasped why Deadpool was so successful, why so many people like it, why it has so many positive reviews. You will know I think it has an incoherent and basically empty plot, that I found it childish, definitely not engaging, and I think it tries to promote itself as an edgy alternative film rich in dark humour and risque sexual innuendo, but which ended up just packing the plot with a bunch of jokes that only a group of 13-year-old boys would find funny. This film has no solid character development. It has no elements which enrich the plot and make it interesting and engaging. It is just nearly 2 hours of empty space for puns. Breaking the fourth wall or putting in an extra external reference or an extra joke about sex does not make this film more clever. But I guess that Deadpool wearing Crocs or complaining about a character texting too much makes it so iconic and memorable. The next name on the list is an older movie, Pulp Fiction. Pulp Fiction is universally recognized as a cult film, a piece of cinema which went down in history for iconic shots, memorable lines, and unforgettable characters. I have personally seen this film more than once, I don't mind it. I even made a whole video in which I explain the meaning of this film's plot and themes. But I don't think I could ever consider it such a great piece of art. Of course, it is a perfect example of Tarantino's work. It covers all of the concept of the aestheticization of violence. It created interesting characters and has well thought dialogues. But in my opinion, it does not move beyond these characters and lines of dialogue. It is heavily tied to these features. In general, most of the film's success relies on these edgy, dangerous, good-looking characters which bond because of sexual tension or violence, two big Tarantino themes, and on lengthy dialogues and on the cool 90s aesthetic. The rest of the film, which is built around these features, tends to be rather vague. It is unnecessarily complicated, and I am a huge Christopher Nolan fan. It is packed with unnecessary moments and jokes. The film obviously presents these features because it is a perfect example of Tarantino's style, and it gained a lot of popularity because of the current love for the 90s, for the juxtaposition of beauty and death, for the iconic soundtrack. But in general, the only things that stay after the end of this film are just a bunch of Etsy t-shirts of Mia Wallace overdosing on hard drugs. And now here comes the tough one. La La Land. I feel I have spoken way too much about this film, but here we go again. La La Land is the award-winning musical story of Mia and Sebastian, two artists in the competitive environment of Los Angeles which struggle to fulfill their dreams and become who they've always wanted to be. La La Land is a beautiful film. It has an impressive soundtrack, the colour palette and the use of colours to convey ideas is absolutely fascinating. It's very artsy and romantic, the editing is insane, and it is a romantic story both on the human side and for the concept of personal dreams. But 14 Oscar nominations, including Best Actor for Ryan Gosling. It won 7 Golden Globes, and it has been nominated for way over 100 awards in general, and people all over the world have been praising it as one of the best films ever. I personally don't think it is that good for this level of appreciation. I think it's just a good film, and I especially can't praise it that much when director Damien Chazelle gave us Whiplash just a few years earlier, which in my personal opinion is better developed and engaging, and it still conveys some similar ideas. As I was saying, I have spoken more than once about La La Land, so I'll leave the links in the description box to my complete review of the film and to my other video in which I draw a comparison with Whiplash. Let me know what you thought about these films and what you consider overrated in the world of cinema. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to subscribe for more movie related content and much more. See you soon. Bye.